It's new bike day!
Yeah! And these are the best days.
Can you even see it, dude? You can see it in the background. I didn't even plan that. That was hung up there. Like, every episode we've done previously, I've been hiding it.
And now you've had to hide it. Be hidden.
You've had to hide it.
I've had to hide it, yeah. I've had to hide it. I've had to edit bits out. I've had to...
Oh, you poor thing. Now we're live. Look at it. It looks
unsheathed.
cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, man. Ding, ding, looks sick. Sick.
Yeah. Stoked.
New bike day, man.
So, what a campaign as well. So, it's for your inner child, the tagline, which I really like, obviously, because I'm immature.
I feel like this is designed for you.
Fucking near on, eh? Yeah, near on. Like, I don't know, I think that I would be surprised if there's people that don't relate to it. Even the most serious mountain biker.
Yeah,
it's not
totally.
really, like, I don't know.
Totally.
Certainly for me and my group of friends, I don't know about you. Yep. It's never been serious, it's always just been great fun.
That's sick. Yeah, sick, dude. I mean, and again, we're going back a few months now. When I first heard about this campaign, instantly I was like, that is amazing. And it starts conjuring up all these amazing memories and, like, thinking about what it was that really drew you to mountain biking and biking with your friends. Originally. So it's really cool. But I want to talk about that before. I just want to say to everyone listening, obviously, this episode is called Behind the Bike. Now, I started doing these a few years ago, Behind the Bike, and basically the concept is to introduce people to people within the industry who help make these bikes come to market. So today we're going to be joined by Fabian Scholz, and we're potentially going to have another guest at the end as well, who you might guess who that is if you've seen the artwork. But yeah, so the whole premise is to talk to someone who's designed the bike. Sometimes we talk to marketing people, but I guess we can do a bit of that because we've been not involved, but we know the person involved quite well. And yeah, we're going to get some information on this bike, some of the changes, and it's going to be fun. I'm excited, dude, and thank you for being a co-host to a sort of different type of episode, which is sick.
I'm a co-host to another podcast.
Yeah. Get that on the resume, dude. Get it on.
Oh, big time, yeah. Just co-hosting left, right and centre. But no, I'm stoked to sit down with Fabi because honestly, so he's the lead engineer at Focus, and obviously we've got a load of questions from the listeners as well, which is really cool. But I always have such conversations with Fabi. He's so like, if you think you've thought about something, Fabi's thought about it for a lot longer. In a much more objective and deliberate way. Yeah, about bikes. So, because, you know, if you're designing product, like I have a very small bit of experience in product design, but it doesn't compare to sort of like a lead engineer on a bike frame or on a bike. That's a gnarly job.
A lot of factors to consider, things that people probably would never have even thought about. And that's what I've enjoyed previously about these episodes, is people out there listening love to know about these people and who they are, because a lot of the time you don't get an opportunity to ask them a question, you know, unless you sort of, I guess, technically work within the industry and you go to trade shows and launches, you don't get to talk to these people. So it's a really cool opportunity to sit down and have a chat, and we're going to get a bit of a run through on this new bike. There's actually two new bikes. We're going to mainly focus on the JAM. Yeah. But there is a Thron as well. That's the JAM. As you can see in shot, and it looks insane. But let's talk about this campaign, dude, a little bit, man. Like, we're going to bring some images up while we're talking, and talk about this campaign a little bit. So let's get a bit of a sort of look at what it is and what it's all about.
Absolutely, yeah. So the campaign itself goes more than just the video bit that obviously has been released now. Like, the whole concept behind it was explained to me early on, and it was like, and we're all included in it, which is really cool part of being part of Focus. You know, like, you get to hear what the plan is for the launch of the bike, not only just the bike. And it was so sick because, like, everyone was sharing pictures of them when they were younger and, like, their kind of journey as a mountain bike rider. And it's so funny seeing how long, you know, you kind of just think, I don't know, everyone's got the same story, everyone's grown up doing it, everyone's grown up in the woods, and it's like, it's so funny to see a mirror image. Like,
totally. And when I first saw it about releasing your inner child, like it instantly conjured up all these memories of, like you were saying, like the sort of the freedom that came with having a bike when you were young and just having no worries and going out and just riding your bike and just not even caring about what time it was or anything like that. And I think that hopefully people will definitely get that vibe from this campaign. And I think, you know, the key to a good marketing campaign is something that really conjures up feeling and emotion.
Yeah.
And for me, when I read the brief and I was like, fuck, like I'm thinking back to all these memories of being a kid and like, so I was going to ask you, do you know your first memory of riding? Do you have anything that like really stands out?
Yes, I lived in Belgium and Mum said I had like movement like I couldn't, like I'd just cry if I wasn't moving and stuff. Right. So she just had to, poor Mum, she had to just wander around the streets of Brussels with me on like a scooter and then on a bike, and they had lots of like architectural kind of, they're not like skate parks but like concrete waves and stuff, and I actually remember that. I spoke to her about it recently. Wow. And which is pretty crazy because I lived there until I was 3, so these are mega early memories. These aren't like clear vivid memories, but they're mega early. And then I would say, like, without sounding cliched, it's quite like is rite of passage the correct term? But like the first time you can ride on your own steam in a straight line and get somewhere else is like a moment in people's lives, and I think like most people can relate to that. I don't know about you. What was your first moment?
In fact, my actual first memory is a bit of a strange one because it's actually a sort of crash, but it's not. So where I grew up, and I'm gonna hopefully when I grab the bike, I'm gonna go out and document some of this stuff and show people around like where I grew up and what I used to do as a child riding. And we lived on a road. And there was a sort of perfect square of houses, and I used to basically just ride around it like a speedway track. It's quite big. It was probably like, 30, 40 seconds to do one lap. I used to just lap it and lap it and lap it. And it came sort of down our road where I lived, a little bit of a hill, turn right, end of that road, turn right again, come back up, pedal uphill, turn right, and then there's a row of shops, and I used to just ride past it all the time. And my first real memory of having a bike was riding along this row of shops, and a woman opened a car door, and like the corner of the door got me right underneath the chin. And that is my first memory there of like physically riding a bike, and it's I guess it's not the nicest memory, but in a way it kind of is because it was a chrome BMX. I remember it like really well, but I can't remember anything really before that. I was probably 6 or 7 years old. So yeah, I, to be honest, I'm going to go dig out some old photos and stuff and see if I can, sort of like conjure up some more memories. But yeah, that's like my first real memory of riding a bike. Wicked. And then fast forward to, just hanging out with friends. And obviously, I did a lot of riding on my own when I was a kid because I was a lonely child. So I did a hell of a lot of just riding on my own. And it was just speedway, to be honest with you. I used to like going in circles really fast. So yeah, I'm excited to take a bit of a deep dive into that and try and remember some stuff.
Funny, isn't it? Because like bikes, you're not into bikes when
I guess you have one and you enjoy riding it, but you're not into.
Yeah, and what I think's weird though is that, with that said, you're not into bikes and you're not watching it. And kids maybe are today now, but back then I wasn't like into them. But then equally, I wanted to jump it or I wanted to skid. Like that's without seeing it or hearing about it. Really, it's just like you just want to like jump it and skid and like go quick and stuff like that. Like that's almost a natural thing. Maybe
must be. Yeah, it must be. And I don't know where you see. I don't know where you see skids. Where do you see wheelies first? I don't know. But that's all I was bothered about was doing wheelies.
In it, yeah, same
and
for me.
Skids and just going round in circles really fast.
Yeah.
So. Funny. So this campaign then, man, like tell me a little bit more about the shooting of it and stuff. We're going to drag up a few images here. There's some hilarious photos of you and Deeks on like, I don't know what you call those things. What's that called? With the
spring bikes, rocky bikes? I don't even know what you call them, Yeah. Oh, dude, it's so funny. We actually spent an entire day in a on this estate in the middle of an estate in a play area. Right. And it's obviously it was filmed during COVID, so we had to like follow guidelines. Like cut are all very official, and they'd like hide out the play park. So then and then there's two grown men in bike kit, literally playing on swings. It was insane. We did a whole day of it. Day.
That's cool to know though, because that actual segment's probably in the whole edit I don't know. I've not personally seen the full thing yet. I've seen like a draft, right? But
Yeah.
let's say that is 2 minutes of footage.
No, a lot of work goes into these things. Like,
Yeah.
it is a lot of
and
work.
a whole day of doing stuff and takes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and everyone at Cut has like those guys have a checklist of the shots that are needed, you know?
Right. Okay.
And it's fully planned, it's fully storyboarded. So it's the sort of thing, honestly, if I was organising it, I'd be like, right, we'll do that, we'll be there probably an hour max, and then we'll go onto the trails and we'll film there for like, let's say 2 hours, and then we should be done. And it's not the case, you know? It took like, for these small amounts of time that you see in a video, it takes so much longer to actually get enough to put it together. And then when you consider that for the design of the bike, like when people talk about R&D and marketing and this and that, like it is an awful lot of work and an awful lot of work behind the scenes and people sorting things out. And so I'd be fascinated to hear how long Fabi's like been working on this kind of behind the scenes almost as well. The bike itself, you know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, super excited. Can't wait to hear more about it. Like growing up, then, what was your like playground as a child, bike riding wise? Did you start in the local woods? Like, what was it?
So I lived in Guildford, which is like a small city. It's a town, but it was in a city. Yeah, it was a city, I guess. But our house backed on. It was like a terraced house, and it backed onto a school playing field, and there was just one green grass bank. Like back then, it was like Rampage. Like it really took a lot of courage to like ride down it on that pink bike that I've not got now, but not that's behind me, but you know the original pink bike. Yeah. So and it was. Yeah, honestly, if I went back there now, it'd be funny to go back there now, actually. Like what you said about revisiting these old spots.
Yeah, I walked past one, which I'm going to try and show people and document a little bit. So it's like, dude, there's this like, my dad moved to this house and my parents split up. And there was just basically this little plot of sort of like, I wouldn't say it's not a park, it was nowhere near a park. It was just like a little bit of green grass, basically. Yeah. And it was on a hill, so you could ride down this sort of like footpath. And then there was, I'm not very good with sizes and stuff, but it was, let's say, a quarter of a football field. It was nothing, absolutely nothing. And it had a couple of like green mold, like grass bank things. And that's where I first started like digging as a proper child. Like, I'd say like 9 years old. Basically tried to make a bike park, even though I didn't know what one was at the time. But I'm gonna take the camera up and show people this little bit of land, and there's still the grass hasn't grown back from when I was a kid, because I used to hit it every day.
Dude, it's
send it.
Do you know what? There were so many. I don't know if it was the same for you, but there was everyone you spoke to, no matter where they like lived and stuff. There were so many spots that were like called the ups and downs, or the jumps, or the bomb holes, or the
it's true. Yeah, that's true. That's
weird, isn't it? Like,
we had
a few
I got
spots like that.
into like trials a little bit at probably like just before my teens, like 12, maybe 13, and
because of the Martins.
Maybe actually, yeah. And there was like basically 3 steps and a concrete bank, which you used to ride every day, just like religiously, just hopping up steps, hopping down steps, hopping up steps. It's just like constant. But it's really cool, and I'd love to hear from people, like in the comments or whatever. Reach out, however, and tell us like your first memories of riding a bike. And does this? I'd love to know, like, does this campaign like bring any memories back of what you used to do as a kid? Because it has done for me. Like, you know, I've got like goosebumps now even talk about it. It's just like fond memories of riding pretty much pointlessly, but it was so fun at the time.
Yeah. We talked about it in that episode with Chopper, actually, didn't we? Like the jumps I used to build just on a main path and then be so upset when they got knocked down.
Yeah, it's true.
Just single takeoffs, buried logs. It's so funny. I think like I've got a lot of like jumping for me was quite a painful experience at first, because you didn't have the correct equipment and you'd like slip a pedal and you like. I don't smash my shins. I'm going to smash my shins now, aren't I? Yeah. Because I've said this. I've jinxed myself. But I don't smash my shins anymore, and that was like a main concern. That was a primary concern when I was younger. Like my feet.
I feel like especially as you got to understand. Yeah, exactly. You understand bike parts a little bit more, and maybe get like the biggest, gnarliest pedals you could get. I remember getting some pretty big sort of like metal pedals and just driving them into my shins
Yeah.
every day. And that's definitely why I have numb shins now, 100%. My legs look awful, beat up to death. Just from slamming. It was Welgo, I think they were called. Like,
was it?
Welgo. Yeah, super cheap, like metal pedals, but with like decent pins in them.
Yeah.
Ugh, gnarly. Horrible.
DMR made Terrapins, which in some ways was good,
Right.
in some ways very bad. I had so many little products and stuff like that I can remember, like DCDs. Do you remember them? Chain devices. Like how much your chain used to fall off. Insane.
If you didn't have like oily fingers by the end of a ride when you were younger, there's something wrong.
Exactly. And then how much you used to wear out tyres. Like tyres completely bald.
Yeah, true. It's true.
Actually mental.
I remember a really, really fond memory of having an epically buckled back wheel on a GT Outpost trail, I think I had. It was like a team coloured white and blue one. It was beautiful. And I had like super epically like pringled wheel. And I went to hop over it like a curb's basically like a corner of a curb. Went to hop over it, cased it, and somehow managed to get the wheel back straight. And it was like it for ages.
Yes!
I was like, I fixed it. I just cased the shit out of something and now it's fixed.
Hey, do you know what they call that? A best case scenario.
Nice. Nice. All right, I'll tick that one off. We've done that joke. We'll tick that one off. Oh dear. But yeah, what about, tell me a bit more about the campaign, dude, and going out filming with Deeks. Obviously we've got Deeks is on the Focus team, which is insane, so that must be really cool for you.
Super excited about having Deeks on board. Like, just obviously he's a great friend of mine, and also just someone who sort of, I don't know, kind of shares my enthusiasm for biking and everyone at Focus's enthusiasm for biking, I guess. So he fits really well, actually. And
I feel like this campaign almost is the perfect launch
100%
tool as well, right?
Yeah.
Because he seems like just one big kid. So
yeah, totally.
And you. So.
Yeah, I know, right? But I think, like, I'm not necessarily... maybe I am a giant child. But it's riding that brings that out. It's not like I just fucking... No, maybe I do go through the world making fart noises and inappropriate jokes. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But riding definitely brings it out. I think, like... Yeah, across the board. But yeah, stoked to have Deeks along, and it was wicked riding with him. Obviously, there's no big weirdness riding with him because I ride with him all the time. But yeah, it was.
And where did you shoot all the riding stuff then? Is that all local to you?
Yeah, all local. Yeah, okay. All just local. Yeah, you're kind of quite like restricted on what you can do at the minute, really, aren't you? So it was. Yeah, it kind of worked perfectly. Just. Oh, we need jumps. Okay. Oh no. Also, we went to 417 Project as well.
Oh right.
So there were some clips from there as well because wanted it to look, like to have elements of bike park, and obviously most of the bike parks are closed, so we had to get special permission. So yeah, we went up there. That was really good fun. They've got a lot of like flow trail and fun stuff. Yeah, we just did a week of fun riding and playing in play parks.
So it's a whole week, wasn't it? Like this.
It was. There's another video to come out as well that comes out kind of alongside it. That's like. Yeah, along the same lines, but it kind of explores more childlike habits of me and Deeks.
Awesome. I'm excited, man. Like I say, I'm loving the campaign so far. And it's brought up too many feels to even consider really at the moment.
Mate, that's wicked. Well, good.
So I hope it's the same for everyone out there listening as well. That get positive vibes off this and are just looking forward to listening and then getting out and going for a ride and trying to go recreate something you did as a kid. I'd love to see it. Like, send a video. Like, do something that you used to do as a child. Just go ride something you used to ride, or build a rubbish jump, because it actually is really fun.
Build a rubbish jump. Yeah,
Davey's just get advice. Get some bricks and a little bit of wood and just build something.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, sometimes if you're travelling and stuff, there's these like moments when you're in a car park and you're waiting or something. Let's say you're going to France and you're driving and you are stuck at the tunnel ferry or something like that. Yeah. And you're in the car park and you just get a bike out and piss around, and it's like it becomes clear why it's so much fun almost, doesn't it?
Totally. Yeah, it's true, man. Yeah, really, really true.
Fiddling around like a child, really.
Yes, indeed. So, should we get into this, man, and welcome Fabio?
Let's do it.
Fabio.
Fabio, sounds like a DJ.
Fabio?
DJ Fabio. Fabian Scholz.
Fabian Scholz, let's get into it, man. Whoa. Behind the bike.
And Fabian! Dude, I've never seen such a professional setup. I wasn't expecting it. It's blown me away.
It is incredible.
Look at him, Fabian Scholz.
Hey, come on! I'm a German engineer. What do you expect?
It looks so amazing, though. And can you show us the new bike? Show us the effect of the new bike where you change camera.
1, 2, 3. Is it the wrong direction? No.
Yes, we caught him out. We caught him out. That's what. Oh, look at it.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
dude.
Mess it up. Okay,
That's
we go back.
classic.
Yeah, bring it back. I want to see if you can slide it back. Oh, I love it. Good to
Totally
see you,
messed it
Fabi.
up.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Good to see
thank
you
you,
guys.
mate. Really appreciate you taking the time out and coming to talk about the new bikes, which Ollie and I have already spoken about a little bit at the start of the podcast. But yeah, super excited to talk to someone else who's been heavily involved with the design of this bike and many other bikes as well, no doubt. So thank you. Appreciate you taking the time out to come and chat.
Exactly.
Sure.
So, when you said you were changing it, like the Focus Jam is like the exact. That is my favourite bike, and I kind of think it's your favourite bike as well, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And you designed the last
absolutely.
one, so it must have been scary changing it. Like from my own personal experience, it's like if you get something that you really love, and then you want to update it. How do you go about like working out what to do?
Yeah, like first of all, I would say there are like industry trends. Like for example, like 29er. Like when we developed the first Jam, it was like roughly 8 years ago. It was just like 27.5 was like on a big hype. So we went for 27.5, developed the bike around those small wheels, and now like there's no way around 29 anymore. Like we had a Jam 29 in the middle, but it was like kind of like a bit like conservative 29er, I would say, from the geometry. And this was the first real 29er pure mountain bike we did, like just based on around the big wheels. And of course, there's a lot of changes, like geometry-wise and suspension-wise. But overall, like it's also nice to have a new approach and like start from the beginning almost again.
Yeah, definitely. What I think is really cool as well with this, and it's just realised to me that we've got like the professional rider who can talk about, obviously how it rides, and I know you can as well, Fabi, because you're a very, very good rider. But like you're coming in
German
from a
national
totally
champion.
German national champion, which we are going to talk about. So you're coming at it from that angle, Ollie, of being a pro, and obviously you fell in love with the original Jam.
Yeah.
But then now when they tell you it's changing, you must be a bit like, oh. like maybe a little bit nervous, but. And then we've also got the engineer who can probably talk about some elements of why it's changed and all that sort of stuff. So it's really cool. I think it's like it could be a super fun like learning experience for everyone, I think. So
Yeah,
I think
too right.
as well, Fabi, like what people love to know about people when we have them on this type of episode in the past is your background and like how you got involved with working at Focus, how you became an engineer. So I know you've got, again, like a lot of heritage in engineering with your family. So can you talk a little bit about like how you got involved in this and some of the stuff you've done in the past, and then ultimately how you ended up working at Focus and doing the job you do now?
How much time do you have?
We're good.
So yeah, basically I started riding when I was like 14, and then like because my father had like one of the first full suspension bikes, so that really hooked me up into mountain biking. And then from there on I started racing, doing dual slalom, becoming like the region champion for dual slalom. Then I went to the amateur world championships in Austria, become a junior world champion in dual slalom when I was like 16 or 17. So it really started from there, and then I was always interested in technical stuff. So then I went to start my studies, and then I went for mechanical engineering. And during my studies I worked for the German mountain bike magazine. So I was a test rider and photo model for 8 years for the magazine, so it was a perfect job next to my studies because I was earning quite okay money. So I could finance my studies, I could ride my bike and get money for it, so it was a perfect match. And yeah, and also during that time I started developing first products for across. I developed a flat pedal, like 12 years ago or so. So it's on the market for ages and was one of the first big flat pedals on the market. And then when I finished my studies, I also did like a master in industrial design. And when I finished my studies, my original plan was to work for BMW because I did an internship there, and it was really it's a big company and it's really, they pay good salary and stuff. So I was really like, everybody from my colleagues, from my mates was starting in the car industry. So for me, it was just logical to go there as well. But same time, a friend asked like if I want to start for Focus, because they were like 3 minutes from my home. They had their office. So it was super tiny office with 5 people. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's give it a try. And so I still had to apply. So they took me, and now I'm with Focus for 8 or 9 years already. And meanwhile, we are in a big office, more professional. We are 30 people meanwhile. So not just engineers, it's also product management, marketing, controlling, sales. Everything is here in Stuttgart for Focus. And yeah, it's a crazy history, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What draws you to design, right? Primarily, because I'd say I'd be aesthetic. If I was like, because I've obviously done graphic design, so I would design something around how it looks. Whereas I feel like you're more function, you're more an actual engineer, you know, like an actual product designer. What's the balance between how? Because then there is a balance, right?
Yeah, always. And there's always a compromise, of course. But I would say I always describe myself like as an engineer with a good taste. Because like I'm an engineer. I have a master in design, but that's just like a small point. Or like I'm not really good at sketching, for example. I would say like my visual impression and judgment is really good. So this is like where I kind of merge it together. But first of all, a bike has to work. And then, of course, it has to look good, so you have to kind of match it together, but it's really hard to explain how to do that. It's just like a natural development.
So, can you think of a time you've designed something that would work amazing, but looks not amazing?
Honestly, I don't know.
Because there must be like some stuff out there on the market even that's
but it's hard to tell, because when you look back and look at past projects you did, there's always like, you always find like room for improvement. This is why you do the next project and the next bike, because you want to improve things. So like I would say that the old JAM was a bit like more that all the tube dimensions were not smaller, but it was like back at that time it was totally normal. So I would not say it's ugly now, but now if you look at a new bike compared to the old one, you think, the tubes are super small and it looks like kind of weak, but it still was a good bike and it also passed all the tests, so it was not a weak bike. But then you think, it could be done better, but yeah, it's nothing ugly, I would say.
Yeah. So when you started, did you start with 29-inch wheels and the fold? So the fold is the focus optimized linkage design that you designed, right? So is that basically the start point for this bike? Would it have been 29-inch wheels and fold suspension?
Yeah, so like first step is always we sit together with the product management and they decide they want to have a new bike for a market. They have a business case behind it, of course. And then we talk together like how the bike should be. Like then we define it should be 150 millimeters of travel, 29-inch wheels, so the rough like borders, how the project should look like. And then the next step is always that we start with the geometry. So I just like do like an analyze what's good about the current bike, how is the market development. We also buy bikes from other competitors to see how the bikes are riding. So we just like get a feeling, where's the market going, where's the trend going. And then we do a geometry, and if we are not sure, we build prototypes. But in this case, for example, like we did so many new e-bikes, so we had good experience with the kind of new school geometry, so slacker and longer. So we were totally confident to go with a fixed geometry, design a bike around that geometry. Of course, then we do test rides, and if it's not good, then we do another loop, another prototype run. But in this case, it really worked from the beginning with some minor changes.
And do you have like a fixed time frame with each model? So let's say the JAM's been in the range for X amount of years. Do you go, right, okay, we need to now update it to move into the next sort of like, I guess, time frame of the JAM? Does that make sense?
Yeah, we have a roadmap. So our current roadmap is until model year 25. So we know until model year 25 which projects we do, like which bikes we renew, maybe just a facelift or a complete new project. Sometimes we just do a new category. Like for For example, we also bring out a new Tron bike next to the Jam with less travel. That's a totally new bike for us. Like we didn't have the bike in the past, so that's totally new. But everything is fixed on the roadmap, and we have a project manager who's always like in the back pushing us to fulfill the timelines and keep the schedules.
So sick.
Yeah, it is. And how long does it take? Like that first bit, when you sit down with the product managers and start defining what you want to do. You said you started with the 29-inch wheel and the fold suspension. How long does it take? Like, when did that start to this point now, today, of this bike being released?
You can roughly say between 1.5 and 2 years. It also depends, right. It depends like how complicated it is. Like e-bikes take longer because there are more plastic parts involved, so we have to design all the plastic parts, open the molds, and that takes quite long. For pure mountain bikes like the Jam, I would say minimum is 1.5 years until it's really on the shop floor. Like it's finished earlier, of course. Like I'm riding this bike since over a year now, but it's now in the shops because we have to produce them, paint it, assemble it. So it's that takes quite a long time.
What was the biggest challenge on this one? What do you obsess over the most? Because I know there's always bits that like end up taking the most time, and you're like, oh. Was there any in this?
Yeah, I would say geometry, because like it's quite a huge step for us. Like the old Jam was, because it was developed 8 years ago, it was kind of conservative. Like back then it was totally okay, but then over the years it got like really short compared to modern standards. So this approach of the geometry is really like I think our reach in size extra large grow by 45 millimeters. So it's a huge step from the old one to the next one. And then for me that's quite, I would say, obvious. But then we had some, like, let's say, internal fights between product management who maybe want to have it like more in this direction. I want to have it more in that direction because, of course, I'm a more aggressive rider. So like I want to have like a really long bike with a slack head angle. And like I would say the internal discussions, they are really tough, but they're good because then you get a lot of impressions, a lot of knowledge from also from marketing, for example, what they want. And then in the end you can come up with a total nice bike.
Yeah. I'm interested as well. So you said you've ridden the bike for like a whole year, and Olly and I have been joking for a couple of months now about this secret bike, and you can't even have it on a podcast. So who do you ride with? And like, because with social media, people taking photos, it could be easy to let this thing slip. So how do you get around that?
I just do normal riding, but same time, since I was a professional rider and racing for Focus, so I have a Instagram account with 3,500 followers. Not too many, but still quite a lot. So I do constant photos and stuff, and then you have to be careful to not put the bike in there, of course, but it's kind of an easy task. But in Stuttgart, in my area, I think people, maybe they look when you ride this bike, they just like focus on you and see what's going on. And some people ask, what's that? And then I just tell them, like, it's a new Focus bike. It comes out like April next year. And they say, oh, cool, it looks totally nice. And then you get the first feedback already, which is also nice. Yeah. But they don't do photos. And even if it's not rocket science what we do, so I don't care.
You know what, as well, Davey? It's actually very difficult to keep up with Fabi on a ride, so I don't think you got much chance.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a real pain. It is a real pain.
Have you had any issues with that, though? With, maybe telling someone to take something down, or... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you do have to be careful with it. I just ride mine basically on my own, I guess, or just with friends when I know we're not filming and stuff. But you do have to think about it, because I've had both bikes. It's been really cool, actually, having both bikes alongside each other, just to go back to back and do my own comparisons kind of thing.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah, depending on whether there's a camera there or not, I'll ride pink bike or Nui. So, Olly, just going to go back to you as well, because I think this is interesting. What are some of the things that you've noticed with switching between both bikes? And then let's see if Fabi has had the same sort of feedback. It's so fast, I noticed. Is
it?
It's so fast, and it's controlled fast.
Okay.
So I'm really just getting back up to speed after breaking my ankle, obviously. But it's really noticeable going back to back, how controllable the new bike is. And it is something that I I almost don't want to like, but I'm like, oh, it's good, isn't it? It's good.
And what do you want to like? Like just the wheel size? Because obviously your style of riding.
I guess I'm always just resistant to change.
Yeah.
And like if a bike's made, I always feel like there's a way up between fast and fun. So it doesn't have to be that way though, really, does it? Because fast is also fun. But just in my head, I always go through all of those things and like I try and compare. And I think before long, I struggle to go now on the old bike.
Right.
Whereas I didn't just get on the new bike and think, oh, it's 100% better. But then gradually, as you move on, you become more used to the new one, and becoming more used to it is the improvement. You know, we're talking about small changes, really, and on the scheme of things, like things that maybe Fabi will notice. Everyday people might not pick up on instantly, but the overall impression is really fast, really fun, really controllable. Grip, I think's weird because I don't think, I need more grip, and then when you have more grip, you're like, whoa.
Is that similar to what you've experienced as well then, Fabi, with riding both?
Yeah, totally. So as soon as I built the first prototype, and I was starting with a size medium frame, and I built it up, and I tried like different shocks, like I tried coil shocks, downhill air shocks, like regular enduro shocks, all kind of suspension, and I liked it so much from the beginning. So for me, it was super hard time to go back to the old bike or to the JAM, for example, because like on some events I had to go to the regular bike because I had to do photos or stuff or ride like with a bigger group, and it was such a big pain to go back to the old bike when you're used to the new stuff. So kind of like it's just some geometry numbers and a difference in wheel size, but it's like as soon as you get used to it, I liked it so much. So for me, it was always, I didn't want to go back, and I was always riding this bike whenever I could. And then I was also switching to a large size now to get even more stability with a shorter stem and stuff. So I was trying so much with this bike the whole summer. That was also for me was, for example, Corona. That's to not talk about it, but like for me it was good because I was in home office all the time, so I could like 2 hours of lunch riding, and I was like constantly trying new stuff, new components, new suspension. I could try so much stuff last year. That was, for me, it was super good.
Yeah. I think it'd be good then. Should we do a walk round of this bike?
Sure.
Yeah, let's.
I want to try this camera out as well.
Okay.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Swap it.
Oh, that is so cool. Seamless, dude. Seamless. And here he is again.
Oh. All right.
So here it is. Where should I start? Yeah. So as you can see, if you know the old JAM, that we completely changed the suspension layup. So now we have like a horizontal shock compared to the old one where it is vertically. So we did this change to have a bigger room for bottle cage, for bottles. So you can, like, with the piggyback shock, of course, you can just put a 650 ml bottle in. But like if you have a regular shock, you can put a huge bottle in there. And so we have also our tool bag, which is not visible here because I don't have one right now. But we developed a small tool bag here, so you can store all your tools, like a little tube, your mini tool, and stuff like this. To have everything on the bike. And yeah, tube shapes changed a lot, so it's a bit more massive now, stronger, better, more beefy. And what you can't see is like the geometry number. So, like I said, it grew a lot. So on a size large, we have a reach of 480, head angle of 65, seat angle of 76 degrees. But like the important thing is we measure it at actual seat height. So we don't measure it like on the horizontal here. We measure it on the actual seat height. So in this case, on 750 millimeter of height. So yeah, a lot of changes, and I think it looks totally awesome. I'm super happy how it turned up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You've also used the integrated like stem. Is that right as well on this bike?
Yeah, I don't have it here right now. I'm riding like a carbon stem handlebar combination, not from us, from different brand, just to get a feeling for it, and if it's nice to have, because you are fixed in the position of a handlebar, and I want to find out if this really works or if it's just like too many compromises. So yeah, but still internal cable routing through the headset. So this is what we have on all new bikes. So totally clean optic. We also route the cables through the chainstays, so you can't see any cables. It's totally clean. Yeah.
Can you explain?
Oh,
Sorry, go on, Ollie. No, after you.
What changes you made to the kinematics on Fold for this bike over the old bike?
So we have a shock extension now here. You can't see it, but maybe you see it on the pictures on the internet. So we have a small shock extension here, which is like with ball bearings, so it's more sensitive. And we also have a little flip chip in here, so you can switch from a 65.5 head angle to the 65-degree head angle. And also we made it way more progressive. So the old one had like a kind of degressive curve on the beginning, so it was super sensitive in the beginning, and then from sag point on we went progressive to the end. But now with all the recent shock developments, we noticed that it doesn't really fit to the latest shocks anymore so good. So now we changed to a completely progressive kinematics, and we went by it has a progressivity of I think 30%. So it's super progressive. This is also why you can run a coil shock without bottoming out all the time.
Okay, sick, perfect. I don't think, is there anything else, Ollie, on the bike?
Well, should we go to listener questions, or should we get Fabi back in his seat?
Yeah, let's get Fabi back in his seat.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back.
Fabi back in his seat.
Let's get back.
I could just get Fabi walking backwards and forwards each time for the whole podcast. To be honest, it's so entertaining to watch. Actually, can we take it back to the bike again? No, I'm kidding.
I had a question in regards to the change with the suspension, and obviously going from a vertical to more horizontal setup. When and how do you start getting suspension manufacturers involved in that? Because you must have to test shocks, or how does that work?
Yeah, so normally we do that when we have the first prototype. So it was March, April last year when we got the first shocks. So normally I just have a ratio with shocks and all the forces. I send this over to RockShox or Fox, and based on this they do a theoretical tune of the shock. Then they send this tune or maybe two options to the office. Normally we meet in Finale or stuff like that. It's not possible right now, so they just send the shock over. I ride it here on my home trails, and then I judge with the product management together if it works nicely, if we have to adjust it. We can adjust the tune, so we always have a custom tune for our bikes to really match it perfectly to the kinematics. Then you also can change the volume spacer inside, so the bottom out resistance. So we try different versions there. And then in the end we just lock in one shock setup, which is then sold to the people out there.
Okay.
Boys, we've got a bit of feedback on the sound.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say the same. I don't know if you've changed something, but it's...
Yeah, it's really loud, like whistling. That's better.
What was it?
I don't know. Okay, Maurice changed something.
Amazing, it's perfect now.
Yeah, way better now.
Right, we're back in. Will we be able to use that last bit of sound? I didn't want to interrupt in case it was only me hearing it.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah,
okay, cool. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Cool.
Should we go to some of the listener questions? Because I'm quite intrigued to see what people...
Yeah, we can do that,
what people want to find out.
Okay, let's do some listener questions. So, first one is... I didn't get this person's name, I'm sorry, it was a YouTube comment actually. So, how are forces particularly measured, like on bike parts, and how do you then use that to calculate sort of like frame, sort of like tubing size and stuff like that? Like, how do you break all that down and discover what you want to use?
Yeah,
good question.
So basically it's not so easy because a bike is handmade, so the tubes are like joined together, welded by hand, so there's a lot of let's say unknown factors involved. So you have to go with experience a lot, so we know if the old frame passed the test and how the tube looked like and how the weldings look like and the style of the welding as well. So those experience numbers play a huge role. Also, we do some test rides with some strain gauges on the bike to actually measure the forces. We did this last year. We did really intense test riding because our e-bikes, we want to raise the system weight from 120 kilo to 150. So a bit bigger, heavier people are also allowed to ride our bikes. They are now also right, but the guarantee is not there. And so we did a lot of testing just to actually verify our test protocol. And then the third point is we do testing in Kloppenburg in our own test lab. So we have you have the ISO testing, which is by law you have to do this test and pass the test to sell the bike actually. But then we do ISO plus X, either like cycles or load. So for example, if we have like 1,200 Newton meters of force, we go up to 1,800 Newton meters of force. With less cycles, of course, but then we combine the ISO testing with our own testing, and all frames have to pass this standard to make it into production. So it's always a combination between experience, measurement, and testing.
Okay.
I really enjoyed going and seeing the bikes on the test machines. Like, have you ever seen it?
It's insane.
It's absolutely insane. And they're just running 24 hours a day. So there'll just be a bike with, let's say, maybe they're doing a handlebar test. So Fabi might be testing a handlebar. They just have weights dropping on the end.
Just constant.
And it'll go. Like, I was going back to the hotel at night after the factory tour. I was going to the hotel at night and I was thinking, those set of bars are still out there. They're still getting nailed. They're still overshooting jumps. Those set of bars are still overshooting jumps right now.
Wow. And do you do that with other people's components too, to make sure that they're like almost good enough to put on an OEM bike, or not?
Yeah, we are super strict. So we test our frames, of course, because that's our own development. So basically all own developed parts are going through the crazy test setup. But then sometimes when some manufacturers cannot give us a certificate for like a certain test, we do it by ourselves. So it can happen that we test a suspension fork. But it's really not too often. But sometimes we do it, and then sometimes we also find some failures. For example, dropper posts are really a critical part. So we have some brands where we don't spec dropper posts because they don't pass our own testing.
Interesting. Wow, that is crazy. And what does go into that? Like, you know, what products go onto a bike? Obviously, you're trying to hit a certain price point and stuff like that. But, you know, do you basically order a bit of everything from everyone and then you start just testing things, or how does that all work?
Yeah, that's a product management job. So I'm not too involved in this, but of course, like pricing is a high priority because they have to reach certain price points. For example, like the JAM maximum 3,000 euros, so you cannot put XTR on that, of course. So it's always like let's say, you have to test stuff, some cheaper components, of course, because most people want to ride the high-end stuff. But you have to test like Deore, for example, or SRAM NX. And if it works good, then we are confident to put it on our bikes, and then we have a cheaper spec with this.
Okay, good. Very good. What else we got? All right, we got another question. At the Sam Smith Official, if you could design one style of bike for the rest of your life, what would it be?
This one over there.
Really?
I think it's
enduro bike.
It's the most versatile bike you can think of. Like it fits my home trails. They're not too rough, but I also go to like areas close to Stuttgart where it's more rough, and I still have tons of fun with it. So when I would live in Finale, maybe I would need like 170 of travel. But since I live in Stuttgart, like this bike is like really the perfect all day, all around, all year long bike.
I think it's the same with here, Olly, right? I think this is the perfect UK bike.
100%, yeah. It's like the JAM is my go-to everyday bike. I think that's very true. Like, I think people are instantly drawn to more travel sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily match what you ride. Like, there's a bike for every location, really, isn't there? Like the Surrey Hills, I would say for me is a 150, really 150, 160.
Yeah, I don't think more travel necessarily means more fun at all.
No,
not at all. No. And I wonder why people do that. Why do people go for that? Because you just want to have like the biggest, bounciest looking, gnarly bike.
Numbers, I guess. Yeah, monster truck sort of vibe.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. Okay, what else we got? We got at imogen.mtb. Is there really any difference between male and female frames?
Not for focus. We don't do special female bikes. And I would also say, geometry-wise, there should not be a difference. So, of course, women are smaller, so maybe you should do like an extra small size. That would be a way to do it. But for me, the most important thing is like women are more lightweight, so you have to do a different kinematic. So the ratio of the shock needs to be different. So, like for example, this bike has an overall ratio of 2.6, and with like women under like 55 kilo, then you're on the limit with the rebound. So you cannot like adjust the rebound fast enough to make it fit to the weight of the woman. So that would be the biggest difference between the bikes. And of course the touch points like saddle, grips, those things need to be adjusted for like smaller hands or like different ergonomics.
Yeah, okay. Well answered. Amazing.
Yeah, so historically the women's bikes with the lower top tube is for a dress, isn't it? You know, like, that is where it's all come from.
Is it really?
I think so, yeah. The drop top tube is... Yeah.
'Cause it makes no sense, does it?
No,
really?
no, well, it doesn't make any sense, no.
No.
Other than size, yeah.
Yeah. I know, like, I mean, step through, I guess, is also for older people, so you don't have to climb over a top tube. Yeah, interesting. Never really thought about that, why a women's bike had the slopey top tube before.
This bike's got way lower standover height, hasn't it, this Jam?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we lowered it by a lot.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense now with longer travel droppers, huh? I guess that's another thing that comes into design, like other components. Because 8 years ago, what was the maximum travel dropper post?
Maybe 150.
Yeah, innit? Maybe 150, probably 120, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, probably. But like, there's so many things like that, aren't there? That like you don't almost instantly think about, like.
Yeah, I think so. That's interesting as well. Then, so you've obviously changed for this bike the suspension layout from vertical to horizontal. Is that going to continue? Because I feel like that will continue on the other bikes too, like e-bike for example.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. It always starts with one project and then it will trickle down to other projects.
Okay. Nice. What else we got?
The next question for Fabi.
Please.
I think this has actually been sort of answered, but it'd be good just to maybe go over it again because it is super interesting. So at 2-to-1 racing, what steers a final design and like sign off? Is it aesthetics or function?
Yeah, as I said, it's really you can't separate it. It's just like natural coming together. But basically, you have the geometry, you have the tube shape, or not the tube, like the direction where the tube goes, and then you can shape the tube as you want. So we have also like a real good, it's not industrial design, automotive designer, because there's a huge difference between automotive design and industrial design. So he's an automotive designer, and he's really skilled. Shout out to Daniel. And he's doing the tube shapes, for example. So he's helping with this because I'm not doing all the shapes. Like he's helping out with some stuff, with some overall looks of the bike. And it's always like technical solutions have to merge with the overall looks of the bike. And in the end, also with paint and the decals. That's like the last step in the process.
Right. I feel, I'm correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think the Focus top tube, sort of like how it looks, it sort of like tapers out. Super unique. Is there any other brand that even does anything like that? Because personally, I just love the look of it. I think it looks awesome. But is there like a functional reason for that, or is it aesthetics?
It comes from the carbon bike, so it's like kind of a tie shape, as you described it. And we had it for the first carbon bikes, and we integrated cable routing into it. But now it became kind of the Focus design language, so we kept it and took it over to the next carbon project, even if the cable routing changed, but we kept the overall design to make it noticeable that it's a Focus bike.
Yeah. Okay. What else we got? All right, we just got a load of people submitted the same question, so I'm just going to give you a couple of keywords and let you run with it. Gearbox bikes. Someone submitted a question as well. It was really funny. Someone submitted a question saying, surely the flappy dangly downy bit is not the best way of changing gear. And I thought, he's right in a way, like he is onto something. So yeah, gearbox bikes. I'd love to get your take on it. Is there a future in it? Where's it going? Etc.
Yeah, it's tough. Like it's a typical pink bike question, I would say. Pink bike user comment. So basically you can say like a gearbox not efficient really, because there's so many gears involved. There's so much friction that it's not as efficient as a regular chain drivetrain with a chain. Even if it's like, if you think about it, maybe the first guy who thought about having a chain and different chain wheels, you would think it can never ever work. That's like something like metal on metal is like changing gears. You can't think about it, but somehow it works, and it works for like hundreds of years almost. So it's really proven. It really doesn't make sense somehow, but it's proven. And Gearbox, like so many brands, are trying it constantly, and it doesn't succeed because you cannot get rid of the friction. And the weight is also more heavy. And one thing which people don't think about it is like the torque human people have. So like when you think about like a motorcycle, it has like, I don't know, 80 Newton meters of torque. But a human has like, I didn't calculate it, or I did calculate it, but I forgot the number. But it's like a crazy amount of torque you can put on the drivetrain with your crank, because you have quite a long lever, and then you have your body weight. And if you push down, you create so much torque. This means like the gearbox has to be a super robust and big gears inside. This makes it super heavy. And I think that's the biggest reason why they can't compete with weight and friction with regular drivetrains. So as long as this is not solved, and I don't see really a physical solution to this, I think gearbox bikes will not happen.
I love Fabi's answers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So good. See, I told you, he thinks about these things. Hey, what about a gearbox with the introduction of an electric motor? Is that something that you think is more likely to be possible?
I think there's a patent by Shimano about that.
Ooh.
When I remember right.
You mean like automatic shifting almost, Olly? So it just do it for you?
No, not even. Just like, I don't know, I guess the drag doesn't matter as much when you also have a motor, when you have assistance. So that's all I really meant, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually the only thing I would see it in the future, to combine it with a motor. And yeah, as I said, Shimano has a patent, I believe, and you have a gearbox inside, because the actual electronic motor is super small, so it's translated from like RPM of like 18,000 to like a cadence of 70 for regular riding. So there's a lot of gears inside already, so you could combine this with your shifting. But like, I'm not an expert into this, so I don't know how complicated it actually is to make this into real life. But yeah, that's I would say the only way to do it, to make gearbox bikes. And it would make sense with a lot of torque, so that would be a cool feature in the future.
Belt drive. Ooh.
Yeah.
Belt drive. I guess that's a pink bike thing too. That's a bit of a divider, I feel like, with people. Belt drive. Okay, so you've answered this one. Okay, that's another gearbox one. So we've got Primeval Illustration. How do the on-frame designs keep so fresh on such a massive range of models? Now I know this isn't really your wheelhouse, but how do you like work with the design team and making sure everything looks sort of uniform? Like how does that work?
Are you talking about like decals and paint or tube shapes?
Decals and paint, I think.
Okay, yeah, we have our own decal and paint designer. And he's we also kind of have a roadmap with all the colors we have. So we have like, let's say 15 colors we use over all bikes we have. And then like, depending on the category of the bike and the use case, we use certain colors. So there's a color strategy over the whole lineup. So it's not just by chance that we choose now red is this bike and green is the other bike. It has like a certain look, and over the whole lineup, yeah. So it's well thought of.
Okay. And then we also had at Steve Sanders. Why are there no steering dampers in MTB?
So there was a steering damper in the past. It was by a brand called Hoppy. I'm a total nerd. I know all the components like 20 years ago. So I don't know. It's in my head. So there was a brand doing it, and I think they run it with downhill racing. But then suddenly it disappeared. But now there's one headset out there from Cane Creek. It's called Visco Headset, and it has like some friction in the headset, so kind of a steering damper. And because I bought a cargo bike last week, so it has this headset on the cargo bike. But I can tell you the downside about it. You can't ride with no hands on the handlebar. It's not possible because the friction is too high. So you tend to one direction, you just go that direction. You cannot like balance it anymore. So that's a big downside about it. And otherwise, I would say I don't think we need it. I never thought I need a steering damper, but I haven't tried. So it's really hard to judge. But right now, I don't see the needs for it. Like cheap trekking bikes, they have it. They have like a kind of a little spring connecting the fork and the down tube of the frame. It's not a real steering damper, but it just like helps. If the frame is super soft, I don't know how the English word is for this, but if the frame is super soft, like low entry bikes, then they're super flexy. And then if you go fast downhill, it's kind of like shaking and getting crazier. So if it hits this kind of self-frequency of the bike, it goes more and more, and then you suddenly crash. And therefore, they have this little spring to avoid this effect.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never really felt like we travel fast enough, really, either. I don't know, I think of a steering damper as like higher speed, but maybe I'm wrong.
The only time I've ever really seen them is really on when, moto guys do Western Beach Race, and they just want to tuck up behind the bars and just go, like 80, 90 mile an hour. I guess Sam Reynolds spoke about it a little bit, I think, about trying to, make sure that the bars don't wallow and stuff like that on the run up to some crazy big festival.
Yeah, heavy tyres and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I remember getting a snake wobbles as a kid. Big time. Like tank slapper moments.
Yeah, tank slapper moments. Yeah, it doesn't seem to happen anymore, huh?
No.
I guess that's...
Yeah, but I can imagine... On a slopestyle bike with 26-inch wheels, a steep head angle, you get this effect maybe.
Yeah.
But like on a 29er slack head angle, I don't think you get into the speed where you get this wobbly effect.
Yeah. That's all the listener questions, but it'd be good just to do a bit of a summary about what bikes have just come out. We haven't really spoken about the Tron at all. But do you want to just do a bit of a summary about the Tron and what that is? Is that okay with you?
Sure, yeah.
Yep.
So the Tron is the little brother of the JAM. So before that, we didn't, as I said, we didn't have the Tron in our lineup. So we only had the JAM. Since now we put the Tron next to the JAM, we could make the JAM a bit more aggressive, a bit more downhill orientated, and the Tron fills the gap to the let's say easier trails. So it's a trail bike with 29-inch wheels, 130mm of travel, 66.5 degree head angle, so still quite slack, but more for a bit mellow trails and more touring. Some people prefer to go on the fire roads more, like that's at least the German style what people are doing. So not so much trail. And I talked with Alex, our product management, about it today. So for me, maybe the Tron is more like the Tron rider is more about the distance and riding a bit longer and taking one or two trails, and the JAM rider is more about like taking every trail which is possible, going up down all the time. So it's more about the elevation he's doing. So he's trying to ride every trail on his home turf.
Okay, perfect.
So I would say that's the difference.
Okay, and then we've got the JAM. So there's two models of the JAM, right? And then there's a special edition one. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay,
right.
Perfect. And what are the differences between is it 6.8 and 6.9?
Yeah, right. And then 6.0 for the limited edition. Okay. And I would say our prices are, let's say, quite fair. So we didn't start with 3,000 euro. We started with 2.5 in euro. So sorry, I know only the euro prices. So 2.5 is the entry and 3,000 top model. And then we have the limited edition for 4, but it's not crazy prices. So it's should be affordable for the people. It's robust, it's good components, and it's just an all-round fun bike to ride.
Awesome. And all these are available right now, local bike shop.
Yeah, go get them.
Yeah, go get them. Go get them. You're going to have to be fast, though. You're going to have to be fast.
Yeah, so,
right, dude.
But yeah, you should be able to contact your local bike shop, which is obviously the best way to try and get hold of a Focus, because you guys don't sell direct. So yeah, hit up your local bike shop and tell them Fabi sent you. And if they ask who Fabi is, tell them you should know. You should know. Is there anything else, Olly, you think that we haven't covered, or
I've ticked every box? Fabi's too good at information. I wanted to come up with a question that would stump him, but he's got too much. I give up. Got too much information in there.
I've got a quick question. So you'd say that, you know, for Olly with what he does, and it's a bit of an exception this because Fabi is such a good rider. But so Olly, you're going to have people that you look up to within being a professional mountain biker, whether it's PE or whoever it might be, or like the young generation like Chaos or whatever. So for Fabi, like, who do you look up to in your space of engineering and stuff? Like, who do you keep an eye on? Like, what are people, you know, who are like the people doing stuff that excites you?
Oliver, of course, my biggest idol.
Yeah, he's definitely.
No, like, hard to tell. Like, of course, like, I'm also following racing a lot. So since I raced by myself, a bit of EWS and stuff, like there's like guys like Sam Hill or Richie Root, Jared. I think Jared Grace was my favorite rider for a long time. Maybe still is. He's not racing too much anymore, but still I look up to him because he switched disciplines so much, and maybe that's also what makes me a good rider, because I also switch disciplines. Like, I'm riding pump track, I'm riding like a road bike, gravel. I do all kinds of riding, dirt jump. And so he's like has a super variety of skills, and I like that a lot. So if I would pick one rider, it would be Jared Graves. But all in all, I look also to like regular customers. I always have a look when I'm at a certain spot for riding. I look at regular customer, how they ride. And you have to design bikes for those customers as well, because not everybody is like a Olly or me or a Jared Graves. That the average Joe rides totally different and has different needs. And with this bike, we try to cover, like, let's say most of it. You can't cover everything, but you can cover most of it.
And what about in engineering? Is there anyone that you look up to?
Not really a person, I would say. There are some, like, I think German engineering, there are a lot of German engineers in the press, but it's also a lot of marketing, I would say. So I try to be like an honest person and like speak about like the facts and not only marketing. So, but I definitely admire like new work from other like teams of designers, when like other brands bringing out a new bike which is like totally nice and a new approach, even if it's maybe not perfect, but I still like, let's say, give my respect to the team that they did a really good job. And like, of course you have to name Specialized because they bring really good products. Like I think they sucked in the past with the pure bikes, but the new Stump Jumper Evo, for example, is a super good bike. I rode it already, so I have to definitely have respect for that engineering work.
Yeah, awesome, good answer, man. It's good as well just to, you know, give some props to other brands that are doing sort of forward-thinking things in the industry, isn't it? You know, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we've, you know, maybe we could ask Mo. Is there anything, Mo, like, I know you can't hear us, but is there anything you think that we've missed that we want to make sure that we cover? Or
Mo, haben wir irgendwas vergessen? Brauchen wir noch was?
Can we do some switches back to the bike and forwards again? Because I feel like this is an opportunity to make the most of this, because we're never going to have technology like this on our podcast. So just
never. Don't say never.
Never say never, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's never.
How should we do it? Just do it and record, or you just record it?
Yeah, we'll just use it at the end.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay.
Just a few.
And like dissolves and maybe, dude. Yeah. Nice. That is so cool.
And back. Sorry?
Yeah, back again. Oh,
too slow. Fuck.
Okay, too slow. You're gonna have to keep trying. We'll get it down.
Okay, again.
Yeah, again. Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, that was really nice because it looked like you were holding on to it then. Oh, nailed it, dude.
Nailed it. Fabi, thank you so much. We're going to put a link in the show description to your personal Instagram, so people can head over and give you a follow if they want to keep up to date with what you're doing. Obviously, you're an insanely good rider, so people are probably going to want to have a look anyway. And massive thank you to the Focus team for helping put this together, for making awesome bikes, and generally just being rad people.
The best.
So
big
much fun
thanks.
to be involved.
Big thanks all.
Thank you so much.
Cool.
And
it's good talking, guys.
Hit up your local bike shop, go take a look at these bikes. Even if you're not in the market for one, just go have a look, get a photo, take a selfie with it, that'd be nice. and send it over. And that's it, that's a wrap. We're going to move on.
Nice one.
Cool.
Cheers, Fabi.
Thanks, guys.
We're on air for the bonus segment with my new teammate.
Wow.
Right, this is exciting stuff.
It is exciting because it's literally just come out as well, which is kind
literally. Well, apart from one thing, one of my mates sending it about a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, Officially, it's come out a few minutes ago, yeah. So
Yeah.
super stoked.
Timing.
That's Team Rumours, dude. That was good, yeah.
Yeah, good team rumours. Yeah. They didn't get... Go
Brent
on.
snuck it onto a vlog, right?
Say again, mate.
Brent snuck it onto a vlog, kind of by accident, or what? What's the deal?
No, definitely not. I've analysed the footage and I would say that, yeah.
He wanted
Anyway.
the scoop, did he? He wanted the scoop, he wanted the
Well,
viewers.
of course he does. Of course he does. YouTube flipping Pete. That's it, isn't it? What do you expect? But anyway, there we go. We're live. We're kicking. We're happy. We've got a good teammate. We've got a sick bike, and I'm excited to talk about what we're talking about today. So it's all good.
Hyped, man. Awesome. Congratulations as well, I guess. Congratulations are in order.
Congratulations, Deeks.
So, I wanted to ask you a question, and we're going to keep this super short, I know. For you, what goes in to deciding about a new team? Or a new bike brand? Or a new sponsor? Like, what are the elements that you look at?
Well,
Apart from that,
no, do you know what it was? Honestly, when we're looking up a number of things, and people are going to think that, oh, Ben's just gone to a new brand. Why are you leaving DMR? DMR and me are well and truly still like this. We've still got a number of components on the bike, and do you know what? The biggest factor for me is just having your mate with you, and as sort of cliche and silly as it sounds, the opportunity for me and Ollie to literally go and ride our bikes as a team and, go and explore and do all this stuff from a brand perspective, for a personal perspective, like all these things, it's going to be so sick. Obviously, depending on COVID, but at the moment we're just like, right, where can we go? Let's think about this, let's think about that. And almost the very first year I had with DMR with Jono, it was very much the same, where we're a team, we bounce off each other. That I don't think, we obviously all love riding bikes, but as we've said a number of times, how fun is it riding your bikes with your mates? And the fact that I'm given this opportunity to ride with Ollie and ride some awesome places with my mate, as well as making some sick connie, it'd be really sick. And that I didn't really need to look at anything else. It was that whole thing of being with my mate on a team, having a cool, fun time. And
do you know what's exciting as well is like the rest of the team you will love. So, like Focus in general have such a the right outlook on bike riding, I feel like, and everyone who works for them, rides for them, everything is exactly on the same sort of resonance.
Yeah.
And I like the team trips so far have been so fun. Like Fontana, Even, Axel, Fabi, Mo, like all of these guys are just such fun to be around. And then with the addition of
well, I was going to say, that's quite a strong name selection as well, isn't it? It's like quite strong, powerful names, and then just Ollie and Ben at the end.
I know, right?
Oh dear,
that's funny. We also we were talking a little bit about the campaign that came out. When this comes out, will be on this almost the same day. About releasing your inner child. How was that for you, Ben? Like, did you enjoy doing it? Obviously,
Deeks, have you even seen the preview of it yet?
Yeah.
You have? Okay, good.
Ollie, get to the roundabout! The roundabout's free! Yeah, mate, I think if someone told you as a 10-year-old going, right, do you know what, in future life, someone's going to pay you for a whole day to go on roundabouts and swings, you'd tell him to do one. But Ollie and myself, in our 35 years of life on this earth, we got the amazing opportunity to do this in a council estate near Guildford, and it was the best.
Sick. Yeah, it's cool. I've enjoyed watching it already. And again, at the start of this, Ollie and I were talking a little bit about all the memories it brings up and stuff like that. So I wanted to get your take on what's your first memory riding a bike.
I had this green BMX that just literally went with me everywhere, and that was, when you look back, obviously Strider bikes are a big one now, but obviously we didn't really have that back then. So I had this red car that I guess when I was a young boy, that was all I did was just
with
ride
the yellow
this.
roof, was it?
No, it wasn't that. No, it wasn't. Was it
They were trick,
little
weren't
types?
they?
They were trick.
They were
Rich kids had them.
Yeah, rich kids, mate.
Yeah,
And
southern. They're southern.
it's mad to
North,
see
we had
them.
like real
Do you
cars.
know the ones I mean though? The
Yeah,
red ones with the yellow roof.
Yeah, the little tykes, I think they're called, aren't they?
Is that what they are? Yeah.
Yeah, I
never
think so.
We never had those.
Yeah, something like that. No, we had just this car where you didn't pedal, you sort of straddled the side, and then you go from that to this. Yeah, mate, keeping it real. And he used to have like a boot that I used to put all my used camelbacks and stuff. No, my little micro machines used to live in there as I was scooping away. You know,
when we were filming for the Cut project, we went over my parents' house and we were going through my micro machine collection. It was great fun. How good was it, Deeks? We were on my childhood bedroom. Me and Deeks sat on the bed going through micro machines, stoked. And we were
it was...
Actually, do you know what? We are actually giant children. This is bad, yeah.
Well, I think that was it, wasn't it? Because the filmers were like, what on earth are you two doing? And we then realised that this is real life. Me and Ollie are stoked looking through micro machines. And they're just like, what on earth are you two old men up to? We're like, oh my God, this one's got opening doors. And that's the Galoob 1988 flipping, what a bunch of weirdos. But anyway, there we go.
That's funny. So, I mean, again, we were going to keep this relatively short and sweet, but is there anything else, Ollie, like you think you want to talk about with Ben, about being a new teammate? Do you want to...
dude, I think he's a great fit. I think it's going to be great fun.
Yeah.
And what could be better, really, than having a member of the team that's such a good mate? It's brilliant.
That's awesome. Stoked. Yeah, congratulations, Ben. Can't wait to do some stuff. Hopefully we get out as well. Looking forward to joining you both for a ride at some point.
Dave, yeah, absolutely. And Davey, can we just get an oi? Can we just please get an oi? Can you just give like a proper oi? Because I need to hear your oi.
Mine?
Yeah, I just want to hear your oi.
I've never practiced it.
Well, you don't need to practice. Just give it a go. Just see how it feels.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, dude.
Oi, oi!
Yeah, nice.
That's solid. I was going to hold up a number then, but add something. Yeah, all good. All good.
8.
Yeah.
I think that was a 10 out of 10 oi, to be honest.
That was good. It was good, mate. It was good.
Cool. All right, boys. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Looking forward to seeing you both soon, obviously. And,
absolutely. And big thanks to all our guests, really, because we've had lots of guests on this one. This has been a 2-guest one, and obviously Mo behind the scenes. Should have seen it, Deeks. Mo was changing camera angles for Fabi. It was insane. It was so good.
It was
so thanks for everyone who's involved.
And I guess while we're at that, big thanks to Focus too for helping out with this. For those guys for sorting out the studio and everything. And again, on a personal note, for everything they do for me as well as you two, it's much appreciated. So go check out Focus, your local bike shop. There's going to be a link in the show description to find your local bike shop as well, so we'll put that down there. And check out the new bike because it looks sick.
Fire! It's fast, very fast.
Yeah, that's what Ollie said. It's fast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And that's it. It's a wrap.
Done.
Peace.
Easy as that. See you in a bit.
Easy as that. Oi, oi!
You got one in there.